Hey friends, Gabrielle Celeste here. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Sisters podcast. Super excited because this one today just felt so intuitively led to have on our friend Amara Sena. Hi lady, how are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. Okay, so if you guys have been listening to more of the personal episodes with us where I've just kind of been bitching for, just bitching, honestly. I just was down bad this year, but I was like down bad in August. And my girl Amara, you know what? For all of you that purchased the on-demand video recordings, straight up, you guys, the idea came from my girl Amara. So
Yes.
we can say thank you.
A fabulous golden offer. I loved it so much.
Yeah. So anyways, I have come to just appreciate and recognize and just see you for the light that you are over our 3 years of knowing one another. Yeah, I just got the Facebook memory.
Has it been
Of
3 years? Was it
3 years.
2022 or 2023?
22.
22. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 22 that you did my so she's my Oregonian photographer friends. So she did my really cool witchy forest-like photo shoot again 3 years ago, which is so crazy. And then since then, it's just been like an ongoing love story. And I've seen you through your honestly kind of like I guess your spiritual awakening. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to pass the mic to you after I ask you our fun little 5 questions. But it's been really cool just to see your growth, to see just you like truly walking through the trenches and willingly doing so, and then just also like seeing the impact that that's had amongst your family members and the growth that they've done for themselves as well, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But before I get ahead of myself, would you be so kind as to play a little rapid fire game with us that you are quite familiar with?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. All right, so what is your big 3 in astrology?
I am a Scorpio sun, Aries moon, and an Aquarius rising.
Yep. You guys, if you look at her eyes, she looks like she has Scorpio eyes. She has water sign 100%. Eyes for sure.
Oh, yeah. I play that to a T, too, as well. Like, I am 100% Scorpio.
She's a Scorpio, for sure. And it's so funny because I distinctly remember, like, driving to, like, a second location, or third even, where we shot at. And I was like, I bet you have this in your big 3. And
it was
Mars and Capricorn.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. And then sure enough, then she ended up getting a reading soon thereafter and just landed and slapped.
And then it was written, or it's being written.
I suppose, yeah. Okay, so what is your human design makeup?
Oh, man. It's been so long since I've done that. We might have to come back to that question.
You're a Manny Gen, though, for sure.
I'm a Manny, yes.
She's a Manny Gen.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. And it's on brand for your business too. When like you get to know you better, you're just like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's been so long since we've had a conversation about human design, but it made a lot of sense as far as my ability to pivot. Like, I feel like it gave me permission to have a lot of irons in the fire and not be so misunderstanding of that. When you're like, why am I like this? And you're like, there it is.
And also like even judge yourself too, because I feel like once you kind of get that permission slip of just understanding your cosmic makeup through either astrology or human design, you're just like, oh, this is like why I am the way I am,
Yes. So funny. I have a album in my phone that keeps all of my like stuff that I'm like, oh, that's what it is, But for design, I'm a 7.4. Does that make sense?
Is that your conscious sun?
I don't know. We might have to edit this out.
Brianna, take this out. Or not. Okay. Or not. All right. So what are some podcasts, audiobooks, just anything you're consuming right now that you would recommend to the audience?
Gosh. Well, I feel like when we read it, it's kind of like we come in alignment with the books that we're reading. So I'm finishing up The Power of Now. But one of the books that I read this year so far that I absolutely loved was Caroline Myss, Soul Contracts. And I absolutely love that book. It really explained a lot to me as far as spirituality and living and religion and those kinds of things that you have a lot of questions for or about when you are experiencing a spiritual awakening and currently living through it. I mean, I don't think you ever stop once you start. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a misconception too. I remember some of the girls that I trained with, they were like, I was like, yeah, you have to like work on this. And they're like, again, like I have to keep doing this. Like it's not over. And then I was like, joke's on you. Like this doesn't stop once it starts. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know that from personal experience from this August, like this month of August was tough. And we both talked about it in our conversations that we ping ponged a lot and just being initiated into the work over and over again. Because it does kind of feel like a beating.
That was the most perfect way to describe it. Like Amara would be good, I wouldn't be, I'd be good, she wouldn't be. And it was just like back and forth. It felt like that whole month. And I'm just like, thank God that's behind us. And now we'll see what the energy of these eclipses bring, because at the time of recording it, we're going into the first weekend. But yeah, they say that August, September is just the most challenging months of 2025. And 2025 is a 9-year, which I can already tell you I'm not going to miss it. So anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels, August felt like a form of tying down the hatches, like just getting ready for closure and then rebirthing again. And you're like, again. But I also just want to say, like, it's a testament to the strength that we were able to provide for each other. And there's a lot of people who don't really have that kind of support, especially if spirituality or religion, for myself, it came from, I was kind of like not interested, and then you do. But so it's been amazing to have somebody like ride that ride with, you know.
Oh, totally. It's a very lonely road if you're doing this alone, for sure.
Alone. Yeah. And I imagine a lot of people do it alone too.
Totally. So. That's a different kind of, I guess, willpower that's developed if in fact you are alone, which is a whole conversation for another day, which maybe we'll do a topic on that. So, second to last question for our rapid fire questions. If you had the opportunity to work with anyone, a celebrity, an artist, you know, person of interest, either living or dead, who would it be and why?
Maya Angelou.
Oh my gosh.
As a young child, I just loved her voice. In fact, I think I was like a second grader or a third grader, and I did my first like big book report on her. And my mom was like, "Girl, why do you have to pick a hard person?" But I've always loved her. I mean, she's a poet. She's a writer. She's so deeply grounding for me. Like in all the books that I've read, I've gone back and had to listen to them because her voice is a voice that I will always find very grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually, you know, thankfully to my mother, she always loved Broadway and, you know, live events. And I've been able to see, before she passed, I was able to see her speak at the Holt Center in Eugene. And it was absolutely amazing.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. But I could soak up her energy as much as I possibly could.
Yeah, she's like easy to digest, I suppose, her information, her voice. Yeah, she does have a very iconic and memorable voice, that's for sure.
And strong, fierce, and in that feminine. And I mean, if you were to pick somebody who had a great balance between the feminine and the masculine, she would be it. Because, I mean, if you ever listen to her poem, Still I Rise, you're just like, oh, yes, go on, queen. Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting because before we started recording, I was like, you're an artist, but you're also a poet, which I would love for you to get into once we start getting into, like, you know, the whole background of how you got into this work and your relationship with spirituality and just your artistry. Because you are an artist, but you're a poet. So it's funny that you say that to also describe Maya, because I feel like there's like attracts like what we're interested in. I feel like it's almost kind of like being mirrored back to us, the directions in which we're supposed to go. So I love that for you. All this to say. Also, side note about Maya, I think she was a sex worker. Not related, but I'm pretty sure she was.
She had definitely experienced sexual assault. I don't believe she was a sex worker. She had one child young, but she experienced so much heartbreak early on in childhood between those kinds of things. But I don't I don't believe in my opinion, I don't feel like she was a sex worker.
And I could totally be wrong. Obviously, not related and likening you to that
Mhm.
at all, girl. Not whatsoever. But
Oh no, I no, but I believe that, she definitely talked and led into her sexuality. I mean,
totally
you can't be that creative and not have
be tapped
that.
in.
Yes, for sure, and how to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I think was it Chris Jenner? I just remember this scene from the Kardashians and them discussing that, and then I saw something I think online that like triggered that thought. So, anyways,
Oh,
would love to hear
interesting.
back from the audience if that is or isn't
Yeah.
accurate. Okay, final question. If you could go to a concert for any artist, living or deceased, who would it be?
Oh gosh. This is a hard question because if you looked at my playlist or like my iTunes, you'd be
Hmm.
like, "Do you have a genre of
Yeah.
music?" Um, but I will say that I am a huge lover of Carlos Santana. I mean, between his guitar and his music, I feel like I feel it on a different level. And he's still alive.
Hmm.
So I still get to experience his music. In fact, we're going to the House of Blues in Las Vegas to see him because he's
Really?
getting up there. I mean, he's not going to perform much longer, but
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on for days with music. Like I grew up blues and jazz, so I, would love to have seen Stevie Ray Vaughan before he
Hmm.
died.
Hmm.
Kendrick Lamar, like all of it. I mean, you could. I mean, we could go. Like, if we really want to go
Were you
into.
were you part of the Kendrick versus Drake? Or were you on Team Kendrick?
Oh, 1000%.
Uh-huh. It's a Gemini.
I mean, like, talk about poets though. Lyrically, Kendrick Lamar is just incredibly talented.
Very smart man.
Oh, yes.
You can see that for sure. Just the way that it plays out in his artistry and like you said, his lyricism. Yeah. Kendrick's I don't know, is he the GOAT? Might be.
I I mean, my brother, who's a big hip hop head, had said, Kendrick Lamar is what Tupac was to that like 80s, 90s generation. And
Mm.
I believe it.
Yeah. And he plays homage to Tupac all the time.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well,
other
that
than
was
that,
fun. Thank you for playing the game.
my pleasure.
Okay. So I would love to, okay, intro into this topic. What I feel like you speak so perfectly and literally embody and live out is the intersection of quite literally being a already established business owner
Mhm.
who then had their spiritual awakening, but has still kind of been, I don't want to say it's the same type of business because it's definitely evolved and it's a reflection of you, but you have almost like incorporated your spirituality into your already established business and have used your spirituality to expand your offerings and have just like consciously not limited yourself in terms
Right.
of what you do and what you offer and like how you want to what you want to leave behind honestly. And I would love for you to discuss like just that intersection, how you got into the work, what your spiritual awakening has been like, and just where you see yourself going. Because from my personal experience, I judged the way that it looked. And I think you do a very good job. And maybe this is like the Scorpio in you and your Aquarius rising of just not judging. Like you don't. And I would love to get into all of the things and those details.
Yeah. It's interesting because um, since my spiritual awakening, I have just ran my business a lot more. I don't want to say protected, but grounding would be probably the better word because when you photograph a lot of people and early on in my career I wanted to just kind of keep creating, and now it's like protection of the energy that I work with. So I definitely find myself being more led by the people than by the camera or the photography within itself. And it's interesting because I enjoy people so much that I tend to lead my photo sessions more as a way for me to get to know their own energy. And because you have to imagine being in front of the camera for clients is a vulnerability within itself. I mean, I definitely lead with that kind of grace because I know how I feel in front of the camera, and when awkward would be a good word too. Um, and so I lead these sessions more of like how who are they, what is their insecurity, what are they trying, what is their goal of their session. And so doing it before and after has been a big difference, because probably before that, running my business was more about quantity, and now it's a lot more about quality. So I don't just keep pulling people in. Like, I'm a little bit more protective of who I want in front of my camera too. And I will say, like, if I don't think it fits, then I have people to refer to, especially since it is an exchange of energy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because my family has been going through some interesting times in the last month. Like we said, talked about August with each other. And I've gone to these photo sessions where I know in the background I have a lot of chatter and noise going through my head. And then I show up to the sessions and I'm so in tune with, and I'm so just fully present with them, that it's always a confirmation that I know that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing, and I'm still evolving what that looks like too. So, yeah, I I think it's beautiful work too, just being around people. And sometimes it's not as fulfilling in certain ways, and so I have to fulfill that creativity through writing and doing design work, or just having deep, in tune conversations with people.
Yeah. Do you think that, I guess, just kind of going off of what you just mentioned, that your definition of success looks different for you now compared to you before
Yeah,
your awakening?
absolutely. It's definitely, not just taking pictures. It's like holding space.
Mhm.
So, and couple years ago, I think I would, book 4 or 5 photo sessions a week.
Mhm.
And now I'm kind of at max 3, 4,
Mhm.
4 definitely max, kind of depending on who it is. And I've always said about myself that I am an extrovert with introverted tendencies. And when you are on a creative output like that, you have to be very protective of how much you're putting out, because you still at the end of it, creativity is like 10% and 90% is running the business. And
Mhm.
so I have to find that, I've always had to find that balance, and definitely throughout my spiritual awakening, it's become a little bit easier, but I still have so much room to grow in that department and in protection of my creativity.
It's interesting. I had another question that came off of your response to that, but what I want to highlight is having had my own, wild 2025, but also coming to a reestablished definition of success for myself in this year. Something that I've acknowledged is that your creativity is literally like your life force energy in so
Yeah.
many ways.
Yeah.
So I love that you're like, I have to protect my creativity, and your creativity is
Mm.
inherently your divine feminine energy. And I think that that's actually something that many people, because we live in a masculine patriarchal society, have lost sight of, or maybe are not even aware of that and its importance, because that's what sustains you to keep going. So I love that you've established those boundaries for yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's more about the input. Creativity is also about my own receiving and
Mm,
being thankful for that creativity in that perspective too. Because if you look at creativity as a whole, and you look at other creative people, like even within your business, you're creative, and you're looking at their output, you're looking at the ideas that they bring to the table, but really creativity is an internal emotion that I feel like um, I know that when I'm at my best, I know exactly what that looks like, and I know exactly what that feels like creatively too. So you do become more protective of that. Again, it's not about the output; it's about the internal
mhm.
receiving part of it.
Yeah. So knowing that, and also being a multifaceted Manny, Jen, and human design, having gone through, and I guess always going through your spiritual awakening and just doing the work, what does alignment mean to you in business now, and how do you know when you're out of it?
Alignment is flow for me. It
Ooh.
is being in the flow. And that goes back to being able to really be in the feminine. I
Yep.
feel like feminine is flow.
Yep.
And alignment is flow for me. Everything seems to just kind of work out, and you're not cutting against the grain in that realm, or things. I feel like I have a better way to explain it, but it really is just building off of that connection for me. And again, it's not just photography; it's the way the space that I hold for writing, for creating other things. It's that flow. Alignment is flow for me.
I feel like in another life you might have been a therapist, because the way in which you hold space, not just for me, because, and maybe this is my ego talking, but it is challenging to hold space for me, I think, because of, I feel like the work that I've done and continue to do. And I'm a highly emotional person. And sometimes I've really judged myself for that. But I think one of your many gifts is that you have the capacity to do that, maybe being the Scorpio that you are. But I also see you doing that like on a personal level for your children and for their friends. Like, I'm like, you are like the coolest adult that the kids have to come talk to you about.
I'm
And
not.
like, I feel like you are. And just like,
Yeah.
I don't, you just have a way with words. And I see that in your artistry, honestly. And it translates in your imagery, your design. Because you're not just a photographer, you're also like literally a digital artist, you're a writer, and essentially a poet. So,
Yeah. It's interesting because I do hold and as I've evolved, I've realized how much my husband
ooh,
is the same way. Like, he's very grounding for a lot of people. And and yes, I do. I love talking to my kids. I love talking to my oldest son's friends, because they have, they all just graduated high school, and they're just kind of at this like really fresh part of life where they're, you know, starting to spread their wings. And although it's sad for me in a way, because I love being a mom, and I think teenaging is tough business. But I do, like, as my friends' kids grow older, I'm always like, kind of, I'm always willing to have the conversation with them about just things and experiences. So I've definitely found kids of a lot of ages talking to me
mm-hmm.
in that realm, and I see it as just a beautiful way of the exchange of energy in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
How would you say, just kind of going off of that, how do you integrate your spiritual growth into just like the practicalities of running a business, no matter the type of business?
um, I just don't force it
No.
anymore. It's just one of those things, like, um, when you are running a business, you are looking at the numbers constantly.
Yeah.
You almost live in, um, it's feast or famine running a small business. I mean, it's not for the weak hearted either. And you learn to understand that starvation is not like the only way to be, especially like the starving artist is it's a very alive and well, thing. But you start to understand that it's not just about that feast or the famine, it's all about the in between too. So I've learned how to understand the in between. Like, I'm not constantly generating new ideas for photo sessions, but it comes more naturally for me for other people to come up with better ideas for their business. But yeah, I don't, as far as like integrating that, I just think I've stopped fighting it, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, you know, not to say that I don't like not love having my bills paid and things like that, but I don't want to fight that you know.
I almost kind of, just observing your process, I almost kind of would, and I would love for you to confirm this for me, um, would say that you almost value the in between just as much.
Oh, the messy middle.
Yeah.
The messy middle is where I find most of my ideas. I
Mhm.
think because I have ADHD, being an artist, I homeschool my youngest son. I have a lot of moving pieces constantly, and so it sometimes that chaos, that messy middle. Once I figured out in my spiritual practices how to ground that energy, holy shit! A lot of good things come from the messy middle, and you learn to not resent it.
Mhm.
You know, I know when
Mhm.
I'm at, like I've said this, I know when I'm at my best. I know when I'm at my lowest, but that
Mhm.
messy middle, that being able to integrate meditation and just understanding yourself a lot more. And I'm not quite sure if that's just because I'm getting older or if it's just because my spiritual awakening, understanding yourself. Um, yeah, I love that messy middle.
Yeah. And I feel like also over the course of the time we've known each other, like, I don't really feel like you judge it. I'm like, because you know you're going to get something out of it.
I do have when I'm coming down to the nitty gritty moments where I feel that chaos. I definitely have those moments, but I have been able to integrate these like tools. If you
Mhm.
think about how we were raised,
Mhm.
your parents aren't offering these tools like this is what I would do to ground your energy or things like that. My parents were like, girl, you are a lot and you need to go into your room and take that time out. um, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't fault my parents for raising me in that way. But I definitely have to go within when I'm feeling out of sorts. And
Mhm.
I get to really work and navigate that part of myself. And through that, I've been able to really evolve and feel good about that evolution.
Yeah. I've
So,
I've seen that in you, and I've seen that in amongst your partner as well.
yeah.
So that's
Oh,
cool.
my husband.
She's married to a Virgo, by the way. So the Virgo
Yes.
Scorpio energy is so fascinating to me.
Oh, and he's a Scorpio rising.
Mhm.
So,
When you share big 3 with, like, your partner or family members, it's very much a destined thing.
yes.
Um, so would you say that there was a specific moment or experience that caused you to have your spiritual awakening, or was it, like, a gradual shift for you?
I don't feel like there was a specific moment. I mean, definitely our photo session together raised or heightened that awareness, especially just being in your own energy back in 2022.
Mm.
You're not the same human being as you are now, but it did change the way that I viewed myself, especially after having my birth chart read. And at that moment, I was going through a somatic therapy program, and a lot of it was done through meditation. And I had a lot of clear aha moments where you discover that you're not as fucked up as you think you are, or that judgment that you place on yourself of why am I the way I am? You know what I mean? So I felt like it was just divine timing in 2022 when we met, and I was going through that somatic therapy program, and I had a daytime job that I was unhappy in, and um, again, so it was yes and no, gradual. It was both, to be honest, because it was a lot of pivotal moments in my life where I gave myself permission to just leap and then protect.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, because,
Do
being alive is tough.
Yeah.
Being a human being is tough. And so if you um, start to understand yourself better, and again, it was through my spiritual awakening, um, you are able to put one foot in front of the other better, easier.
Yeah, totally. Do you think that there were maybe, because you were already a mom before then, and I know that motherhood is a portal. And in The Power of Now, they talk about how, like, females come into Earth with a different, it's almost like a heightened state of consciousness, then it's homosexual consciousness, and then it's male. And
Mm.
males tend to have the most challenging time, not all, but from a stereotypical perspective, men are traditionally the ones that are challenged the most to become conscious. So do you feel like maybe motherhood was a sign for you where they were trying to catch your attention, or maybe there were other experiences before 2022 that even that maybe even came up in business for you that encouraged you to have maybe just like them trying to get your attention to have your spiritual awakening then?
The signs were all there. I mean, if I go back and think about some of the experiences that I've had in my lifetime, I just didn't pick up on them enough. And so I'm sure that, my guides were just like, girl, like, hello.
Totally.
um, but, my oldest son, as I became a single mother, I think that changed a lot about how I perceived myself too. So, and then, thinking of like manifestation and just really putting out this intention, I feel like I will always remember sitting in my window as a single mom and kind of praying for a man like my husband to come into my life. And so I was aware that I received that. And so there's been small snippets of those things that were meant for me, but I just didn't pick up on them soon enough. And then now it's like, oh, there's everything. I see it now. So
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty cool when you get to look back on how far you've come.
Totally.
And then and how much you, even as like my friend, remind me, like, give yourself grace, or give yourself, like, however you frame it. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, I mean, there are a handful of friends that I have, and you are certainly one of them, who since, I mean, I'd say let's just go back to like 2020, but even then, like 2021, 2021 to now, how much work they've done on themselves in honestly like a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
So sometimes like we need other people when we're kind of forgetting to reflect back to ourselves, just to remind us like, hey, like you've done a lot in a short period of time. Like pat
Yeah.
yourself on the back for that because this
Yeah.
work is not quick and it's not easy. And one thing that you said are just like, oh, like the signs were there. I would say that awareness, the concept of awareness, is more divinely feminine than it is masculine,
Yeah.
for sure. Um,
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
If you look at like hiking or walking on a trail,
Mm-hmm.
most men are walking and it's just like straightforward, head on. We've got to get to this spot to
Mm-hmm.
to be there. And women tend to look up and look around and kind of like take that in, whether they're in an awareness that they're actually doing that or not. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
know I've been down that way, and I'm just thinking about it in that perspective too, because you start to be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there it
Mm.
was.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I know we need both masculine and feminine, but if you had the choice, would you say you choose masculine over feminine over masculine? Sorry.
I don't know. That one's a hard question. I've had this conversation with you before. I was raised by such a fierce woman
Mm-hmm.
who definitely um, leads more into the masculine energy. And as I've gotten older, I feel like I deserve the softness of a feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I really can't answer that. I think that's such a beautiful question too. But like, you know, I don't think I would lean into the masculine as much as I think I would,
Mm-hmm.
or how I present myself. I guess I would say that, because I enjoy the flow
Yeah.
way more than I enjoy the masculine structure or anything like that.
Yeah. And I actually feel like as women, that might be more of our natural state. So I feel you on that
Yeah.
one. I feel like this last 6 months, again, this isn't about me and I'm going to pivot to the next question, but where I've had the downtime from honestly like leaving corporate and kind of like asking myself, am I going back? Am I not? Blah, blah, blah. But not necessarily corporate, but like I would say traditional 9 to 5 because I left corporate at the end of 21. But I wanted to say that I really judged myself for being in flow and had such a hard time. And I don't even like to use the word hard, had such a hard time transitioning from like the go, 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 like 3 years nonstop, doing 2 jobs, building this business, and then, working in clinical research like really transitioning from like more masculine to more in balance, and even honestly more feminine, and then coming into balance, I would say, in these last 2 months. And when you had mentioned that you value flow and being well resourced energetically and having the time and the spaciousness in your day, and maybe like your partner values other things, which is totally great and beautiful. When you said that to me over text message, I was just like, yes, that's a reminder. Like, this is what it's all about. And when I'm more in my feminine and have that spaciousness in my day, I'm actually a happier human being.
Yeah. Well, and also too, that's the way you've operated in the past with your career and operating your business, that it really does play into hustle culture. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Because you're like two pieces.
Hmm.
You're like career oriented, highly educated, and then this like beautiful, intuitive, and your business is always going to keep kind of calling you back. That's why even when I've gone through my own creative, just, you know, muddy water or the messy middle, I know that without a doubt in my brain, I will always find creativity as my way of life and my way of being too. So I think it's, I had multiple jobs for a long time. I mean, since I was 15 years old, I had two jobs. So
Hmm.
that's like what I know and what I knew. And now I know this totally different way of life where I am not worried about my output as
Hmm.
much. And so I think for you to, um, that time that space that you have between having a career and running your business, it's only going to get more where you're like, I value running this business even when it's fucking hard, you
Hmm.
know? So
That's something I've like learned from you, and I've studied you and your process because you've been at it for so long. Where I'm just like, she's really arrived at this place where, of course, like everyone will be looking for that balance. I don't know if everyone really finds it. That's the same idea of like,
the balance is bullshit. Balance
yeah.
is 100% bullshit. It is typically, and I'm sure everybody can say this, when you're really good in one area, somewhere else is struggling. And
Hmm.
when I am like really good, I mean, we're walking into baseball or fall baseball season. I know that I have to um, let something go, put some one of those responsibilities down, in order to be successful in my parenting. And that is very important to me. So, and it's busy season for photography, and I have all of these like other ideas that pivot, and I'm just like, all right, write them down, because
Hmm.
you're gonna have to pick them up when you have more time, instead of
Hmm.
just trying to, again, go into that hustle culture of just trying to focus on your output.
Yeah, definitely. And well, all this to say, I completely agree. I think the balance is bullshit, but I feel like you do a really good job of being in the feminine, and I learn a lot from you, and I study you, and I appreciate you, and I value you as a friend
I
and a
love
human being. Yeah. Okay, final question
my
for you.
heart.
I know her
I know.
scorpionic heart.
I don't know.
Okay. All right, final question, and then we're just going to share where everyone can find you. And honestly, I feel like I'm going to title this episode something about like how divine feminine energy is actual creativity in business, because I feel like that was really like a core theme for what we
Chef's
spoke
kiss.
about, right? Okay, so how can entrepreneurs recognize when their business is actually asking them to grow spiritually?
Oh my gosh, you have to repeat the question.
I know. I was like, oh, this is loaded,
Yeah,
especially for Manny Jen. Okay.
yeah.
How can entrepreneurs recognize when their business is asking them to grow spiritually?
Burnout is what comes to my brain the
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, because every entrepreneur experiences burnout, whether you're a creative or if you're an accountant. You're gonna feel that burnout, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you face even 20% of what your burnout is, like we know what our burnout is. When you're like shit's about to hit the fan emotionally, your spirituality is begging for you to pay attention to how you can nurture that, how you can pay attention to it. And really, it's kind of like, for me, when I experience burnout in that kind of way, I know that I need to check in, ground myself, ground my energy a lot more. And it's going to show up on your doorstep whether you like it or not, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, and it's like praised in today's society. I'm like, no, I rebuke.
yeah.
Not for me.
Well, and I think about what my kids are consuming and what that looks like.
Whole different ballgame. Like, you have a
Yeah.
Gen Z and then a Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, I'm a millennial raised by a boomer,
okay.
raising Gen Z and Gen Alpha.
That is so interesting. That's
So, and I really think that like the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas are going to change. They're going to change the game because they're going to see that and they're going to be like, don't want it, hard pass.
they're already. I feel like they're doing that now.
Yeah, my youngest is so emotionally intuitive that I'm just like, dang. If I had what he has, I would have been a totally different person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my oldest too, he's very intuitive, but he's spicy like me.
So what do they say? That God gives you goddess, God, divine, source, oneness, however you identify, literally gives you in child form. Like,
that boy. I gotta love him. I love this age though. I love the the navigation and things like that that they're experiencing for themselves. But I think that they're going to change the game.
I believe it. And it's like, I'm sure a different type of conversation, different level of conversation and depth you can have with them at this age too.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're consuming even more information than we ever have, I mean, they've got a device glued to their hand.
Literally.
I mean, not to say that I don't, but
Yeah, for sure. All right, my friend, my beautiful friend,
yes.
My Scorpio friend. Where can people find you? What offerings do you have? Tell us all the things, and we'll be sure to link it in the show notes.
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Bella Vita Creative. I have so many different things in the irons in the fire. I'm working on a project called the Woven Women's Project. It's been a very long project because it does take a lot of energy and things like that. But all of my photography related things you can find on my link in my bio. I hate that word. I don't know, or that phrase. I don't know why. But it's true.
Yay, I love that. Well, be sure if you're in the Oregonian area to book with Amara if you are interested in her digital services. Also, I don't know if you want to offer this, but she does bomb strategic sessions, guys. Like, it just comes. So, okay, this is the Scorpio in her, because Scorpios are naturally really great at business because they're ruled by Mars, even I would say better than an Aries. So the business acumen is naturally there and available. So
yeah.
I would say strategic business sessions with her, top notch. But yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, be sure to take advantage. You won't regret it. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to say bye?
I want to tell Bree though. I wish she was here.
Yeah,
she brings a little razzle dazzle. So,
Brianna, the Sag.
Brianna,
everyone.
I'm the only Scorpio she likes. She tells me that all the time.
This is true. Brianna does not care for Scorpios.
I feel like I'm just like putting my Scorpio crown back on when Brianna says that to me.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Well, until next time, friends. Bye.
Bye.